If you want consistent, high quality forehands that don't break down, doesn't matter what the score is, the level of your opponent, or for instance, the conditions, this is the video for you. Guess where quality comes from? Quality comes from having the correct fundamentals and being able to call them up on every single shot. And they will look differently, as we see in the forehands that I'm going to show you now. The reason why the pros have such good forehands is that they execute the fundamentals to perfection. And in this video, I will show you exactly what the fundamentals are versus what style is, so that you can develop a forehand that doesn't break down, which is exactly what happens a lot when you fiddle around with style. What makes forehands look so different? First and foremost, it's the grip. You can go from an Eastern grip to a semi-Western grip, to a full Western grip. And I have no idea how they ever hit a ball with that kind of grip. Your Eastern grip has the underside of your index finger knuckle and the meaty part of the palm on bevel number 3, which is 1, 2, 3 right here. With an Eastern grip, your preferred contact point is probably around hip and waist high. Whereas when you move over to a semi-Western, you're also going to be very comfortable with slightly higher balls. And with the full Western, you're going to be super comfortable with really high balls, which is one of the reasons why little kids, when they play with regular adult balls, develop these grips, because they play way too high. Not only is your most comfortable contact point determined by your grip, it's also the swing shape. The more extreme grips are also a little closer to your body in terms of how far in front you're going to make contact. So if I have a traditional Eastern grip, and I say traditional because we're kind of almost calling that a classic forehand grip, my swing shape looks very classic. Probably have a little bit more of an extended arm, and I'm making contact a little bit more in front, is when I'm going a little bit more extreme. It looks very, very different. And I feel like I'm hitting these balls a little closer to my body here. On top of the grip, you also have to take into consideration the different body types. Different players have different levers, different athletic abilities. So no two forehands with players that have different body types, for instance, such as Yasmin and Elena, will look the same. So trying to force your forehand to look like Sinners or Alcaraz or Igas, whoever it is, if you don't have their grips, if you don't have their body type, if you don't have their athletic ability, makes no sense to me. So what's the fundamental part now about the grip? That you know that depending on your grip, your contact zone and your swing shape will look a certain way. Fundamental number 2 is your take back and unit turn. And as you see with all of our players, they look very different, but they all do one thing. They all use their non-dominant hand to help with the coil of their shoulder and of course the hip, which then of course automatically brings your racket hand, your racket arm back. They all end up with their racket head above their dominant hand and that hand between shoulder and hip. So not only does the off arm help with the coil, it also helps with the racket lift. And then depending, of course, on the incoming ball and the grip, every player lets the racket head drop below their hand, and at that point, they're getting into the lock-in position, which is our fundamental number 3. Every player gets into this position. When the racket drop, when the entire preparation of the forehand is finished, everybody has their butt cap looking to the incoming ball. You will naturally get into this position if you relax your arm and your hand. As I'm pulling on the grip to go up and forward to contact, I am not moving the weight of the racket as fast as I'm moving my hand. The racket lags behind, which gives me the wrist lag. Please, please, please do not snap or do anything like this to influence what the ball does. The ball's on the strings for milliseconds, and there is no way. I'm literally not trying to go as slow as possible. This is the fastest I can use my wrist. This is ages longer than the ball's actually on the strings. You cannot, repeat, you cannot influence the ball with this wrist motion. However, you can severely injure yourself if you're trying to do that. Just let it happen naturally. Relax your hand, relax your arm, use your entire body, and this is why they all coil. And just don't interfere with how your body is designed to move and wants to move. Fundamental number 4 is the contact point. And I already talked quite a bit about the contact point when we talked about the grips. But the main takeaway is that there exists a zone for every player in which they have the best control over the ball. And that zone has different dimensions. How far out sideways you're making contact, how high you're making contact, and also how close to your body in this dimension you're making contact. And when you're consistently able to make contact in your ideal zone, it doesn't matter how you bring your racket back, because that is style, that is not a fundamental. And this is where I want to address one of the biggest myths that there is out there, that there is such a thing as the WTA forehand, where players break the plane, and that you should not do that. If you look under any video that talks about ATP forehands, WTA, you will hear somebody say, oh, they're now teaching her the ATP forehand and whatever. It makes no sense. Let me tell you, if I had had any of these players' forehands when I played, I wouldn't be making YouTube videos for a living. I would have long retired, because I would have been a whole lot better than just 27 in the world. They all still make consistent, high-quality contact in their specific zones. So I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're able to do that with whatever kind of windup, you can do a cartwheel before you're making contact. I don't care. The finish and follow through, our last fundamental. And it's depending a little bit on the incoming ball, but also what you want to do with the ball. So for instance, on ground strokes, you will still see the classic finish over the shoulder. You also might see the finish over the biceps, but you might also see this finish. You also see finishes, for instance, over the hip, when somebody wants to hit an angle or a quick dipper. No matter what the finish looks like though, one of the key things is that you finish with the side with which you made contact pointing to the outside. Just as a loose arm and wrist helped you get naturally into the lock-in position, it will also help you naturally to get into this position, because now the tip of the racket not only has caught up with your hand, it is leading this motion, and your forearm is pronating. Last little bit, we're going back to the role of your non-dominant hand. It is now basically as the reaction to the action of coiling, it is now helping you uncoil. You'll see now how the left arm tucks in, it comes closer to your body, and usually somewhere around shoulder or chest high. And that really helps your body stay balanced. And the best way to check really if you are hitting all these fundamentals is to film yourself. And when you see that you might be falling short a little bit on some of them, go ahead and work on them one by one. And just know that it's perfectly fine that your forehand will not look like the next player's forehand. You've got your own style, so go out and develop it. And if you now want to binge watch what all you can do with your consistent and solid forehand, go and check out this playlist.